Jackie, it's your account. The minute you signed on.
We're on.
It went,
Hold on. Well, let's call me in order. I'm showing 5:40. First item is roll call. I am here. Jay is here virtually.
Hello.
Scott, I'm gonna skip for now and see if he shows up. Lindsay's here. Ian's here. And Kevin is gonna be absent. Did I have her place? I'll leave it blank for now. But 3 should give us quorum. Okay, next item is adoption of agenda. We need a motion for that.
A motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
So we have second. All right, next item is adoption of the minutes, April 22nd, 2021. Which I think is on the back of your agenda. Still need a motion and a second.
Jay, you want a motion and I'll second it?
I make a motion to adopt.
Jay moves, Lindsay. Great. All right, next item is new business, CEO manager report.
Okay, so we don't have any active investigations right now under the human rights ordinance. So I thought I would just update the board on some of the calls we've been getting. I don't know whether some have received paperwork, and if they return it, then it will become complaints. But we've had a few related to housing issues, which that's kind of what we're dealing with now and going back to the board next month to amend the ordinance. So I don't know if I had already shared with the board in May. This was one requesting assistance for an elderly lady with some repairs needed in the apartment, and the landlord was saying she was responsible for moving her own furniture before
I don't recall that.
the repair folks would come in. And it was a friend of hers who reached out to us because he was trying to help her physically move the stuff, and this is carpet, repair. So I reached out to Three Rivers, and they took the case to help her with that one, because that was unusual for the landlord to say. And in fact, she was willing to do some of the work, her friend, and then I guess, I don't know if they had some second thoughts or issues. They wanted her to sign a liability waiver because now they would be physically moving the thing. So I'm not sure what was happening there, but that one was referred to Three Rivers. We had another one from a lady who was complaining about an investment and realty management company. And she said she's having difficulty scheduling a reservation to attend open houses or to see properties. And this came about after she gave them her driver's license for identification. And she's not able to get any clear reasoning, as to why they won't book her to see properties. So, we'll see what comes of that one.
Is there a suggestion that it's anything other than?
She didn't say.
Okay.
And so, we'll wait to see what she articulates from there. And there was one, and I guess he was concerned about possible, I hate to use the word hate crime because no crime has been committed, but it's a gentleman who is Asian American. And he was saying he was leaving his property going for a walk. And some young men from, I guess, a neighboring apartment complex or something were approaching him and started to make offensive racial, comments. And he responded, back to them to show that he was not, that was offensive. And some argument ensued. And by the time he called law enforcement, they were already gone. So he contacted our office. Courtney spoke with a contact at the state attorney's office. And basically, other than calling law enforcement, now there's really much else that can be done. But so I called him back, and said, if something happens again, call law enforcement. And if there's a crime or so, of course, he would find out from law enforcement if it even is considered a crime, to report that to the state attorney's office. And the day I spoke with him, apparently he was talking with a neighbor who seems to think they can identify, who at least one of the young men involved might be. So we'll see what comes out of that.
So what was said and how it felt could be an assault.
And this one is interesting. This one is about the lawful source of income. And the question was whether or not unemployment is considered a lawful source of income. So this was a first for us because we haven't gotten that question before. And the property happens to be in the city of Gainesville. So we referred it to the city. But I was talking with Courtney, to say, well, what if it
It's
was
relevant because
located
it
in the
could have,
county? So we were talking about that, and we said, well, technically, unemployment is a lawful source of income. It is. It might be temporary in nature. But we looked at the ordinance again, and there isn't anything that addresses, the temporary nature of any kind of assistance or so.
any income could be temporary. I mean,
So
if
if it, we couldn't find a basis with which we would say to the landlord, you can't refuse to consider
Yeah.
unemployment. So that was,
I mean, they don't
interesting, but-
exclude seasonal work as not lawful employment, right?
Yeah, no, Courtney, you had it up to read the definition. It really doesn't,
I'm just curious. like
yeah,
I said,
she can read the definition
Uh,
again.
The lawful verifiable income paid directly to a tenant or paid to a representative of a tenant, including but not limited to income derived from social security, supplemental security, and found child support, alimony, veterans benefits, disability benefits, pension and retirement benefits, or any form of federal, state, or local public, food, or housing assistance or subsidy, including assistance from the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program and the Housing Choice Voucher Program. Whether such income is received directly or indirectly by the renter or purchaser, and includes supplemental income.
I think that clearly it is included.
I mean,
But-
we would be hard pressed to say. It does. So it would be interesting if we had to.
I was gonna say, let us know if y'all learn otherwise.
To, I can find out from the city,
Yeah, let's see how this
how the city's
ends
handling
up.
it, how the landlord's response. Because I'm sure from the landlord standpoint, they probably wouldn't even think unemployment would count. So it would be interesting. And so just generally related to housing in the last year, current, we've had 5, we'll call them inquiries based on, lawful source of income, which is part of why we were, looking to amend the ordinance. 9 related to Section 8 vouchers, again, and you're all familiar with, I think we mentioned it at the last meeting with what was happening in town with the Collier companies, and the community had a protest in front of their offices beginning of May. We had 2 formal complaints based on Section 8 and lawful source of income. And one, we had that probable cause finding, and the other one was administratively closed because the ordinance did not address the rent income calculations, which is what we're looking to do now. and 11 other housing inquiries, but none of those allege a protected status.
What is that comparative to other years, like in terms of, I'm just curious with all the,
Vastly different.
That's what
vastly
I-
different. For almost every year preceding, housing might have been one or two. In 2019, I think we had about 40 related to Section 8 housing because the ordinance is new. So we were getting a lot of calls saying the landlord is refusing to accept Section 8. So that wasn't unexpected. In 2020, when we're talking about 9 based on Section 8 and 5 on lawful source of income, in 2020, there wasn't a lot of things. So the numbers fell off. But in the last month or two, it's picking up again. And I think because, the moratorium on,
eviction notices?
yeah,
That's why I was
yeah.
asking.
so it's getting busy again. We have been a lot, our properties in the city. So we've been, referring them to the city. And I know it's been a little bit frustrating for some of the community advocates because they keep reaching out to us and wanting our assistance. But, if it's in the city, I really can't just jump in and act. But there's a lot going on related to properties in the city. So that's an update.
Great. Want to forward this? Propose the minutes, put it on the minute?
So
Oh,
I'm
like
handing
two
out,
pages.
so that's one for her. So what I'm handing out here is just a front and back copy of the 2 changes that we're making that will go before the board in 2 weeks. We're requesting,
Well, in
June.
June won't be in 2 weeks,
no, the request,
Okay.
yes. So we're requesting to board permission to advertise a public hearing on the changes. So Mary's pulling up the ordinance and the changes, one on page 6, line 33 is really just a housekeeping. We wanted to update the definition of sexual orientation.
Is that in line with
on
other
page 6.
definitions?
Yeah, just, well, the definitions run the gamut, but
Yes.
we kind of
Yeah.
settled on something that we thought was broad and not like trying to create an all-inclusive list, like before. So instead of, a list like heterosexuality, homosexuality, bisexuality, which was what was in there before, it just says means an individual's actual or perceived emotional, romantic, or sexual attraction to other people. Whatever they.
Basically, relationship
Yes,
focused.
yes. So we thought this was a broader, more inclusive approach than the list we had. So that's kind of a little bit more of a housekeeping. Then on the back, page 11, line 13 takes us to the language that we're adding. Takes us to the language that we're adding, and this will, of course, be a substantive change. So it falls under, if you look at the ordinance, Mary, if you scroll back up a little bit, this is in Article 3. It's not in the definitions, and the reason for that is this is related to Section 8. The definition itself is broader, and covers other things. So just like we have citizenship status in the definitions under this section for Article 3, citizenship status was highlighted because there are some specific do's and don'ts related only to citizenship status housing. So under, following the same kind of order, where it's pulled out for citizenship status, we are adding one for lawful source of income I'm just giving you the reference point with where it is, where it falls in the ordinance. So here it is, we're adding number 19, because citizenship status is 18, we're adding 19. And A is really just clarifying for those who are saying we still didn't understand that the ordinance prohibits us from saying we do not accept section. You know, we thought it was clear in the definition, but we're adding A. A is not new, it's just clarifying what it means. You cannot automatically disqualify or refuse to rent based solely on the status of being a Section 8 voucher. And B is where we're saying the landlord or any agent of a landlord may only consider the portion of the rent that the Section 8 voucher holder is required to pay out of pocket. And we clarified as determined by the housing authority, not by anybody else. The housing authority gets to determine that amount in any rent to income financial qualification calculations. So before, you know, we had talked about that 3 times, that's normally used here. But on second thought, we didn't think it made sense to put a number, you know, whatever is that ratio that they're using, 3 times, 2 times, you know, in response, some might choose to go 4 times, I don't know. But we didn't want to limit it to a number, whatever that number is. The calculation will be based on the out-of-pocket for the market tenant and the out-of-pocket for the Section 8 tenant. And this is, you know, trying to create a more equitable evaluation for both market tenant and housing tenant.
I like that the language won't need to be updated.
Yeah.
It's based on that.
A change in the number or something. And at the last meeting, I had gone over some of the objections that we had heard from the GACAR, remember the Gainesville Electric County Realtors Association. And even with that, we didn't see anything that, you know, gave I guess a concern that we could address in this way. But, you know, I plan to let them know the dates we're going, you know, to the board with this, give them a copy of this, because I want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity, fair opportunity to hear and provide input. So I will send, after today's meeting, I will send this to the representative from the Realtors Association who gave us a feedback from the meeting, and the community advocates. Let them know it will be on the board agenda for June 8th. Yes, June 8th. We'll see what happens here.
As far as new businesses, is there any ask to advertise or to?
Yes,
as written?
This meeting on June 8th is presenting this for the first time to the board and asking their permission to have a public hearing. Then the public hearing would be probably the following meeting or.
Yeah, it would
Or maybe-
be June
Our first
22nd.
meeting in July, yeah. We need, what, 2 weeks to advertise a public hearing?
Yeah. If they approve if they give us authorization on the 8th to advertise,
We'll
we're
advertise
good,
on the
we
9th.
can do it the 22nd.
Okay,
And if not, if they wanted to wait, we could do it July 13th, but the board takes the rest of July.
yeah, I know it's
So
only just one
should be,
meeting in July. Because, you know, they could say, let's allow for more time to get the word out, to provide, you know, the landlords and housing providers enough time to be aware of it and give input at the meeting. So, any questions? Concerns?
Discussion on the language.
If what?
Some discussion on the language.
Well, this is what we talked about at the last meeting, and this is it's already on the board agenda, but you can not on the board agenda, it's already in the system, but you can give us your thoughts if you had any other changes that we could.
The word automatically jumped out to me. It's
A?
Under A. Yeah.
Mhm.
Because what if it wasn't automatic? What if it was after
Because
my
automatically
consideration?
means you can't do it
Yeah.
automatically, but there may be a way for you to get
Yeah.
there,
Oh, my goodness.
right? I'm like,
It's not automatic. I thought about
Yeah,
it.
there was
Yeah.
much consideration
Yeah.
and deliberation, and then I just.
Right. But I'm gonna decide
may
to
not
discriminate based on that
disqualify.
alone.
What kind of?
I think
I can make
we
that.
can make that without, because it's not. In fact, it's just, reaffirming what the ordinance already says.
Sure.
So I think, yeah,
That's a
we
good
can make
point.
that change without it being kicked back all the way to the beginning, right? It will still
When it
stay,
gets to me in
You'll
the
make that
thing, I'll
change,
make this
okay.
and write it down.
it just keeps us on schedule.
Okay.
There's a path that has to be followed.
Become a master at changing things unnecessary.
In fact, one of the things Courtney, had mentioned to me, do we need to add? So it would read, may not disqualify or refuse to rent to Section 8 voucher holders solely on the basis of being a voucher holder. We weren't sure if that part was needed, but we just wanted to make it clear.
Yeah.
So it's clear enough without adding that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, it is clear,
Mhm.
and I like the suggested change.
Sorry.
And
But
one's
the
mutually
problem is, because
exclusive.
I just keep going back. The longer county commissioners, but the one big issue that they always had is it was incorrect, but this concern of, oh, you're gonna force us to. Like, we still have to, right? So if you just take that out,
Mhm.
may not disqualify if you direct Section 8 after holders. I don't know if that language by itself then triggers that, well, is that now saying? you
Oh,
have
like
to?
ever, like you
Right.
know, ever. That's
Solely
true. That
ever.
becomes like an absolute.
So
Solely on-
there's
yeah,
solely on the
right, right, right.
basis, maybe
Yeah,
important
he's gotta-
language
he's
to
gotta
have
put
in
it
there.
on.
Well, that's why Courtney was,
Yeah.
saying that, because
May draw more
Because-
attention if you don't add that clarity.
Right, because, right, so it doesn't really leave an open door for the other factors that they.
Because in
Especially
the
if that is the
exceptions,
primary
if they go
concern.
to the exceptions, they'll see where it says it does not prohibit the landlord from applying,
Sure.
doing background checks and so.
Right.
But I think if we added that, it would kind of say.
I think why cause alarm?
On this sole basis.
Yeah.
So
Because
we'll
we're
go ahead and
proposing,
add
here's
it.
a change, and then we're like, oh, are you changing it back to what we have to do?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
That's more consistent, and I think, you could set off concern.
Is that also something you can? Yeah, okay.
So
So,
honestly, Debbie, what I'll do too is everyone that has gonna have come before me, we can send an email
mhm,
after, when it's my turn, and
Right.
just say, I made the following clarifying statements, and we're
and
good.
the important thing with the ordinance is attorney's office anyway. And
Yeah.
you're at the table and you heard the discussion.
And this is like, you need to say something like, may not disqualify or refuse, on the based on the status, their status as a voucher holder, or something.
Is it like on the soul like that?
That is solely.
Well, I don't
based
want
solely-
it solely, because I don't want that to be part of the consideration at all. They'd be like, well, it was based on the fact that they didn't want a Section 8 voucher holder and they were a minority, or this and that, like, there shouldn't be any part of it that's based, that should have anything to do with the fact that they're a voucher holder.
Right, so on the sole basis that they hold
You
the
see-
voucher, right?
You see, the opening part of this says, yeah, with respect to the voucher. So I think if we say solely, I mean,
Right, so what I'm saying is they could say, I didn't make it based solely on the voucher.
It was
I didn't like the voucher and I didn't like this.
Well, that's okay, right?
well, no, not if part B is a
No, because
protected
it was-
status.
Oh, being here.
I
okay,
can't
thought
just
that
do
was
it because of
different.
A. I did it because A and B.
That would be such a technicality, but
Okay,
we
I
don't
was
want to
thinking
get
like-
into
And when a landlord,
technicalities.
Either or.
We
I
get
was
lawyers
too.
involved, and all of a sudden,
Yeah.
Being a lawyer is-
Yeah.
sorry.
No, so I could
I think
do
that's what
two.
you're supposed to.
I can't do one protected status, but I could do two.
Yeah.
Right,
exactly,
yeah.
Yeah, you're-
I would just say based on their status as a
Voucher holder.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is everybody following the conversation on Zoom? It's been,
Yeah, they get on.
okay.
Jill and Jay, you're following along, right?
I am.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you can hear us clearly with the,
They just agrees with everyone, that's all.
So I apologize, this is a stupid question, but obviously I just started reading this stuff. In B, like, is the out of pocket, is that determined by the local housing authority to issue the voucher? I thought like so like not just the voucher amount, like I thought the out of pocket was like whatever they decided to rent, like they had a.
no, because they can't change your rent just because it's a voucher.
Okay, let me say it a little bit differently. My understanding was the voucher was for a specific amount.
Mhm.
Okay, and then the out-of-pocket amount would be whatever the difference is between that and the home that the renter chose to pick.
No, so,
Okay.
so the voucher holder has certain parameters.
Okay, so they can't go above.
So if the going rate for a 2-bedroom somewhere is 1,200
Mhm.
and your voucher is $1,000, then you're approved based on the housing authority's evaluation of all the different sources of income you have coming in. They have already kind of pre-screened that because they can't issue a voucher to someone and have out-of-pocket expenses that creates housing that's more than a max of 40% of their income. So they are required to keep them within that range. So if someone can say, well, I have the voucher, but I'm willing to pay 500 to get a nicer place, they shouldn't qualify for that voucher in the first place.
Okay.
So the housing authority is very strict about, yeah, because it means then maybe this person had other income they hadn't disclosed to the housing authority.
So that's why when
Right.
Jackie got some of the complaints and that people didn't like what we were doing, they were saying, but what if they can't then pay their light bill? What if they
Right.
can't pay food? But that should have all been
The
calculated
housing authority
when they
looks
got their
all around.
voucher, so that
Okay,
they
because
can
that's
afford
Mhm.
all of their
Right.
other daily
Yes.
expenses.
Okay.
And so if the person's income is so low that they couldn't afford some of these normal and routine and customary things associated with housing, they might get a voucher for the full value
Okay.
of a property because they have little to no income. So then they might get a voucher for the full 1,200. So, the housing authority does all those calculations and they have to fall within it. And it frankly makes it easier to me. It's already they've been already pre-screened.
Absolutely.
The housing authority says, based on everything they have coming in, this is the maximum they can afford to pay out of pocket. So if they find a property that then falls in that parameter
Mhm.
with a voucher, they're out of pocket, they can rent here.
Okay.
The whole point is not to have some discriminatory reason, the reason why they're denied house.
Standard kind of approach.
No, Are there any other-
Further discussion, questions, comments? Jay?
I'm good.
Good.
Jill?
I'm
Jill.
good.
Is Jill on?
Oh, we lose it?
Did we lose Jill?
So she must be.
Okay, well. She might have been the other Alachua County down there. Okay.
Move to public comments. Anything minutes? Okay.
Or, yeah, motion to.
Okay, short and sweet.
Go back and say.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
Scott.
absent.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Well, I'm glad we have quorum, otherwise we couldn't.
Oh, did you need to vote on it?
I don't think, they didn't
No.
need to vote, no. I mean,
No, unless you want them to take some sort of action, they have told the board, but
Did we need to tell the board that we suggest advertising or that we're moving to advertise it publicly?
No,
No,
because
no,
we
no,
take that to the
no,
board,
no,
that's
that's
just how
fine.
we do
Yeah.
ordinances in general, and Jackie can obviously tell her that.
Yeah.
This was discussed, with you guys
Because the
a few
changes,
times, and that you guys were,
and these
very
changes have
hands-on.
been made before it goes to the board, so it's not like
Oh,
we're
yes,
trying to
yes, yes,
change after. Which is required. Okay, I think we're good.
all righty.
Have a good Memorial Day weekend.
You too. Good to
Stay
see
Thank
safe.
you, you as well.
My
Okay,
apologies.
thanks, Dave.
I tried to join by Zoom. I emailed to say, can I do Zoom? I'm glad I assumed. I was like, well, I didn't get a response, so I just need to go. But I had children shuffling.
All right, thank you. Have a good weekend.
Still finished early.
So actually, and this item went to, it's already, I think. Because Bob just sent a message and asked if this was my item, because it was in Bob's queue. So it might have already been pushed through everybody and be in my queue. So, I can do that tomorrow. I'm going to the river tomorrow, Jackie, but I'll be working. So if you need me. Thank you all. I can see you.
Okay, so now I need to stop the share.
I'm trying to stop the recording.
Oh,
Okay, I can't stop that.
don't see the red light.
No, we could just unplug it all.
All right. I'm out. I gotta go home and pack, get on the road.
You're heading out of town again?
I'm going to Crystal River for the weekend.
Oh,
So I'm gonna be working tomorrow. We rented a house, so